So I think the most unique story that I've ever been a part of, so I'm doing the show with Jordy Nelson. We have about 1,000 people that come every week to just sit in the audience and be a part of it, and part of it is an autograph signing session. So we get this email from this guy, and he's like been trying to get a hold of the Packers organization for a long time. But this guy drove more than 2 hours to come be a part of the show, but ahead of time, he's like, I really need Jordy's autograph. And it comes to find out that Jordy was his favorite player, and we're thinking this guy's kind of a weirdo. But what ended up happening was he had a daughter. Daughter was sick, passed away, and he made a promise to his daughter, who he named Jordy, that she would put him to rest with a Jordy autograph. Oh, wow. And so they reached out to the Packers. The Packers wouldn't help. So I get this email. I run it by Jordy, and he's like, you know what? If it means that much to him, let's do this. So the guy comes in tears, didn't know how to, it was so starstruck, flabbergasted. The emotions were so real. Yeah. I still remember it today. Yeah. I kind of getting goosebumps thinking about it. And he was so grateful, brought a jersey. Jordy signed it, was standing there next to him. And this guy could barely get out words. You could just feel how much this meant to him. And so he was able to get the autograph and then put his daughter to rest. I think that's the most unique, crazy situation. And in Miami, Green Bay is different because it's the lifeblood of the whole city. I would argue all of Wisconsin. Right. But in Miami, it's you have all these great, amazing sports teams here, but because of the nightlife that's here,
I know.
I feel the transientness of Miami, not a lot of people are from here. So you lose a little bit of that.
Oh, 100%.
So, but I think with the teams getting really good, that's coming. It's coming.
For sure.
All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tranquilo Sports Talk. We're here with the man, the myth, the legend, Knowz.
Man, you set me up that off the bat.
No, I mean, dude, we're all big Fins guys. We obviously see you all the time on TV and socials. So we were like, dude, we got to get this guy on. So we reached out and appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, Dave, you want to get right into some Fins talk?
Let's do it. Might as well. Let's do it.
So, obviously, a lot has happened to start the season, right? You start week one, and Tyreek's getting arrested on the side of I forget what road that is.
Yeah, 199.
Yeah, right outside the stadium. Then week two, it's kind of a disaster of a game across the board and across of injuries.
Couldn't have put together a worse script for the Fins. That was the worst case scenario. Not only the loss, everything happened obviously with Tua, things like that. So.
But yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on just everything that's happened the first 2 weeks.
Man, I mean, coming into the season for the fan base, this is it. 23 years without a playoff win. You lock up Tua, you lock up Jalen Ramsey, you get Jalen Waddle on a contract, Tyreek Hill's re-upped. It's all the pieces are in place.
Mike McDaniel,
this is the year. This is the moment. And then you're hoping for that great start. Then you get Tyreek being detained. We'll see how that situation plays out. straight Miami story. Like,
100%.
you know, I don't know how much we want to delve into that, but
yeah, no, we can get in it.
It's, you know, it's a tough situation. You know, however you want to look at it. I mean, it's just tough.
Yeah.
I understand, you know, there's both sides, and there could have been better on
Yeah.
both sides, but at the same time, you're a police officer that is working in extra detail for the game. You heard the police officer say, "It's Tyreek Hill."
Yeah.
You know the situation, and man, it's just unfortunate. The whole situation is unfortunate.
Do you think he's still kind of shaken up from everything that's happened? Because, I mean, you obviously give props to the Bills in week 2, but, I mean, he was nowhere to be found in that game. I don't think anybody really was anywhere to be found in that game.
That's more, I think, more of the issue.
But, I mean, Waddle couldn't get open. Reed couldn't get open. We're not going to even talk about the other receiving core situation in the
John
beginning
was
of that
eating,
game.
though.
John had a great game. But we're hoping we got to see Tyreek at some point be Tyreek.
Yeah, I mean, and you're hoping for that with Skylar Thompson. I mean, here's an opportunity to kind of reset everything, and they're not going to change the playbook a whole lot. So for me, this game in Seattle is going to be a lot on Mike McDaniel. I mean, you're the offensive guru. You have this system. Tyler Thompson's been there for 3 years. You have all of your weapons. I think Raheem Mostert is not going to play again. He's got that chest injury. So, but you still have most of your pieces.
Yeah.
Tehran's most likely going to play, and here you have an opportunity. Like, all right, you should have enough to go beat the Seahawks. I mean, you had the Patriots take them to overtime, and we just saw them get waxed by the Jets.
Right.
On paper, you're the better team. Can you go out and execute? And, I mean, you want to talk about lifting up Tua, lifting up the fan base. Like, you go win this week, I think everybody all of a sudden is like, we're back.
Yeah.
Like, we've got an
100%.
easy stretch here.
Everybody is, like, in depression right now as a Dolphins fan. It was like a dark cloud over the stadium.
That was one of the worst games I've ever been to.
Like, not only after the fact that we were down 31-10, but after Tua goes down, like the cloud just got that much darker. And then you're like, here we go again. You know, like everyone's like, division's out of the question at this point. This is out of the question. Like all this like negativity. And I'm like, guys, it's week 2.
Exactly.
It's also the fact that we've been like in the news for like anything but football, really. Because obviously week 1 you've got the Tyreek stuff.
Right.
Then this week everybody's talking about Tua and whether he should play or not and things like that. And now it's like, all right, Tua, hopefully he gets better and see what happens with him. But like, we just need to shift back into like, let's win these games. Because like you said, like we have an opportunity here. It's quote unquote a weaker part of the schedule, especially when you look at the back end.
Yep.
So this is an area we got to take advantage of, even with Skylar. I actually got a question for you in terms of, do you think Skylar is on a tighter leash now with Huntley, or do you think they just brought in Huntley as a God forbid, just in case something happens scenario?
No, I don't think he's on a tighter leash at all. I think you go back to training camp, you beat out Mike White. I understand Mike White's from here, but you go back one offseason cycle, he was the highest paid backup they paid him. 2 years, $8 million. Then all of a sudden, all right, Mike, I understand there's some cap, situation, but Skylar was the better quarterback. So they obviously believed in him. And then you have Tim Boyle, who's very similar to him. But I think this was really a move for depth from Chris Greer. Here you have an opportunity to go get Huntley, who was a Pro Bowler. I understand a lot of people said no, but I mean, the way that he just filled in for Lamar Jackson, I think he gives you something else that Skylar necessarily can't. I mean, Skylar's a lot more mobile than Tua, but now if you put Tyler Huntley in the mix, you're asking me the question. I bet you the opposing the defensive coordinator's thinking, okay, do I have to prepare for these two guys? So, could we see some wildcat? Could we see things that are more geared towards Huntley's skill set? I think it gives you a great option. Remember, they didn't have to pay any money for him. They pulled him off of the practice squad. So the NFL rules say that he's got to be on the team for at least 3 weeks. So with Tua on the IR, and we don't know where he is in concussion protocol. So we now have 3 weeks without having to make any sort of decisions. And so this is the opportunity for Skylar to say, oh man, he can be the guy. But if he can't, that you have a proven guy in him. And then you also have Tim Boyle, who has also started numerous games. So I think this is a great scenario for the first 4 weeks. Obviously, it's not a long-term scenario. In a perfect world, Tua's back playing healthy. We don't know that yet. And there's feelings on other sides, and it's a whole discussion. But yeah, I think it was a good move by Chris Greer. And I love Snoop. I know he's from here, Hallandale High. People around SoFlo love him. They followed him.
He seems like a great dude. Like when you see him in the interviews, he's like smiling. He's like in a great mood. I'm like, dude, this guy seems great to have in the locker room.
You can go see mom, get a home cooked meal. But in a perfect world, no disrespect to Tyler, like you want Skylar to be the guy. You want him to play well.
Of course.
And
the guy's been around.
And if you're playing well, that means you're winning. And then all of a sudden, when we get to the tougher part of the schedule, then you're like, all right, we're in the mix. Like it's all about getting into the tournament. So, I mean, we go back to last year, it all fell apart on that Monday night game with the Titans. So you take away that game, it's a completely different scenario. But if you can get healthy in December and January, that's when you've got to be playing your best football. So if you're, 8-6 at that point, you're in the mix. So, and that's all that you're really trying to do.
If you look at a clip from Javon Holland earlier this year, I think he was on another podcast, and they asked him, like, what's the script for the season? And he goes, we're actually going to struggle a ton in the beginning of the year. He's like, new DC, we have some missing guys, to start the year. So we're just not going to be in our full rhythm until like midway through the season, and then we're going to really pick it up. So if that's the script, we're on par right now. We're on script right now. But I think you hit a really good point. Skylar has been in the system for a long time now, right? No one's going to just come in and be able to learn this offense right off the bat, right? It's a pretty complex offense when you really look at things in terms of all the motions, speed, right? It's not your typical offense that you see a lot of other teams run. So for Skylar, I mean, he's competed in big games. We saw it in Buffalo, where he almost won in Buffalo in the playoff game, right? And played a great game, kind of like just left everything out. And I think that's what we're going to see out of Skylar again. It's like, what does he have to lose too? He's proving that he belongs in the league. He's got maybe, I don't know how many more years left he's got on his contract, but he's got to play for another contract at this point, whether that's with the Finns or being a backup somewhere else, whatever that may be. But if he can go and ball this next 4 weeks, he solidifies that he deserves to be here. And I think that for him is everything that he can ask for.
And then you look at the supporting cast around him. I still think the Finns offense is arguably the fastest in the league.
Achan's been a beast to start the season.
Your offensive line is relatively healthy here earlier in the season. To me, there should be no excuses. You have enough on this roster to go out and not only beat the Seahawks, but I think you can beat the Titans at home. I think you can go up to New England and beat the Patriots. You've got a bye week to collect yourself. Indy's still trying to figure things out with Anthony Richardson, and they've been struggling. So I think these next 4 games that Tua we know will miss, there's a possibility to win all 4 games. I think 3-1's realistic, 2-2. Even if you're there, you're still in the mix because you're 3-3. But I know Dolphins fans will say 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. But yeah, Seattle's a tough place to play, though. That's a loud place. It's a cool venue.
It's going to be tough. But it's funny you said, because I actually, like, of my friends that are Finns fans, like, they're actually way more already, like, blow up the team. Like, and in my eyes, like, I agree with you. Crazy. Like, this team is too good to blow it up. Like, this is the best team that we've had, and I get it. It looks very bleak right now. But, like you mentioned, like, just look at the names on this team. It's like, but this is by far, if you stack it up on paper with every other NFL team, it's by far we're a top five NFL team. And then now it's just, obviously we've been dealt a bad hand with the Tua injury, but it's, I think now, like you mentioned earlier, like it's to see Mike take that next step, because obviously Mike too, and he said it himself, like it's a lot of learning curves in his first 2 years, and last year obviously getting to that playoff spot where we were, and we kind of lost a lot of guys. I'm sure he had to grow from that too, and some of the decisions he made. So I'm hoping to see that jump, like especially in this span. Like we're now back without Tua. Like Mike, we need him to lead us to these next 4 games specifically.
Yeah, I mean, year 1's basically a throwaway. Year 2, it's like, okay, I've got my feet wet. Now we're in year 3. Like this is where you're supposed to have your system, kind of everything ironed out. But year 4 is when you're like, all right, we've kind of got everything. But remember, he's had a different defensive coordinator every year that he's been there. So I think what Javon Holland said was perfect, and he understands how this goes. And you break it up into 4 quarters of the season. And so if you could just got to get through this first quarter, you're going to figure it out, trial by fire. And then you just hope that when you make the mistakes, you don't make it the next game. And if you do that, that's all you're trying to do.
You look at a guy like LaFleur, just lost Jordan Love last week. I mean, even though Jordan Love looks like he might be playing sooner rather than later, which is pretty crazy. But they go, they
Willis,
find a way to win against a Colts team that, I mean, like you said, they're still trying to find their identity, but they're missing QB1. They went and they won.
Yep.
You know, they played well, they ran the ball, they played good defense. That's the other thing. We have a great defense. Like, our defense should be able to keep us in a lot of these games if Skyler can kind of just not turn over the ball, basically, and run the ball effectively.
Yeah.
Packers did it. This is where I'm saying Mike McDaniel's like, hey, you have the pieces. Yes, you lost your QB1. Yes, your offense may not be as explosive, but your defense and your running game is more than capable of winning you games, especially, like you said, the lineup of the next 4 games that we have.
Right. I mean, Matt LaFleur and Mike McDaniel are very close. They were on staff together in Washington. I know that they talked throughout the week. That's how Grant Dubose ended up down here, was that Matt LaFleur basically said, yeah, this guy's great. He'll fit your system. So I would look at that game last week between the Packers and Colts and just say, this is kind of the model that we're going to potentially use. But then again, you've got to get the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. You have to scheme them up. There were situations against the Bills where it was a 3rd down and both of those guys are off the field.
Dude, that was so infuriating.
To me, you can't have that happen.
You can't.
Toward the end of the first half, there were like 40 seconds left. You got 3 timeouts where I'm yelling in the press box, timeout, timeout, timeout. You know, then I look over, Chris Greer's like looking at me, and he's like, gives it a nod. But those are things that you can correct. I mean, that game against the Bills was lost. And I understand Dolphins fans are like, all right, Josh Allen's won 11 of the last 12 coming in, and I think he lost the first game his rookie year, and the one in 2022 where Tua had the back injury. And but yeah, that's the team that you've got to beat. But again, week 2, everybody take a breath. You know, we'll be all right.
So one thing I want to ask you, right? The big question mark has been obviously the ton of talent, but the depth issues at the offensive line and at the receiver position. What are your thoughts on that situation?
Man, well, I mean, you're hoping for a little more from Braxton. I mean, you're looking for that wide receiver 3. We don't know what Odell Beckham Jr. is going to look like. Obviously, everybody knows the name. And I mean, Chris Greer said that it was the team's decision to put him down for the first 4 weeks on this physically unable to perform list. So he wanted to play. You know, but obviously he's a great talent. We just don't know coming off the knee operation, like where he's at. You're just seeing him run sprints, which is really more jogging that we're allowed to see. So you're hoping that he can bring something. And then it's underrated, but River Craycraft has been so solid. He's so consistent, and he's just a trust guy, and he can block. When you can find those receivers that can block, he's just an element that they don't have. That's just not Braxton's game. So you've got to make those tough catches. I think the good adjustment from game 1, Jonnu Smith, nowhere to be found. They're like, oh, we better get Jonnu involved. So game 2, you went there a little bit more. But I think that 3rd wide receiver is going to really help things. And the offensive line, look, it is what it is. You spend a 2nd-round pick. Patrick Paul, we'll see what happens. Like, hopefully he gets some time here, especially if Teron can't go. You know Teron's not playing 17 games. It just is what it is. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a captain, phenomenal guy. I would love to see him fully healthy. Actually, you got to get him on the pod.
That would be safe.
When his career is over, the stories he has about what he plays through and the injuries that he actually has and still goes out there and performs, it's incredible. You have to hear it from him. He's got to be the one to tell you.
No one will. I was going to say, everyone wants to criticize him, but no one ever knows what that guy is dealing with.
What that man is, his story, and one of the best people you've ever talked to. But realistically, though, the way that this team is structured, like everybody's got the same salary cap. They know that their offensive line is what it is, but you've built an offense under Mike McDaniel where you're getting rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds. So this offensive line doesn't need to do what a Dallas offensive line does. So it's different. So you've catered the system knowing where your weaknesses are, and you just have to play to your strengths.
Do you think, though, because that is Mike McDaniel's system, it's get the ball to your hand quick and hit your spot, essentially, if you're Tua, right? We saw that work for 9 weeks last year, and then we saw it not work so well for the last quarter of the season into the playoffs, right? Where film was able to tell people, you got to be in this spot. And so far this year, seems to be a very similar narrative, right? Where Tua actually sometimes looks like he's got some time to go through his reads, but nobody's getting open, right? Or he'll go through his reads so quickly that he doesn't have time really for someone to get open. Do you think the scheme is something that teams are picking up on that is now, how do we make that adjustment? Or do you think it's just like personnel issues and just some of the other components?
No, I think it's a combination of two things. One, there's a lot more film, so defense are starting to figure out those
Right.
tendencies. You're 100% correct on that. But the other thing, and we're seeing this league-wide, where the passing yards across league
Are down.
major down.
Yeah,
And the
that's
reason
very
for
true.
that, the defenses are playing a lot more of that too-high shell safety look. But the way that Mike McDaniel's offense works, it's very nuanced, where the lineup will look exactly the same, and then you can run 7 iterations. So it's building so that, all right, in the beginning, we're just going to make the handoff off this look. Okay, then we're going to give you that look, but instead of handing it off, we're going to throw it the other way with the misdirection. So once you see that alignment 4 times, there's 7 different options. So that's when that big play is going to hit in the second half. So like he's kind of building a crescendo each game.
Yeah,
now
I can
I
see
would
that.
argue like that's where they're going, and they know that they have that defense, so their defense should keep them in the games.
Right.
There's a difference though when you play with the lead. Like you have to start fast. It's
Yeah.
just a mental thing for players when you know that you have a lead because you can relax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
with Skylar, I think they might try to script that first drive. Most coaches do, but you've got to put up points on that first drive.
agree.
So, but yeah, so the tendencies and then knowing that you're trying to build it. I asked McDaniel, and I'm like, you got to win late in the season. Do you save your bullets, quote unquote,
Fair.
for November or December?
Right,
And
you
he's
gotta
like,
go play in Buffalo later on in the year, Jets a couple times
right,
later
just
in the
so
year.
that they can see something new. And he says, no, we don't really do that. We want to show them the same looks, but then what's going to change is how we alter off of those initial looks.
True, makes
Awesome.
sense.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, they know they're in this formation.
Yeah, I've got
They're
7
gonna
options
run
to
this play,
defend
but
you,
they're
right?
actually not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
run
yeah.
this play that we
Exactly.
haven't seen yet.
And that's how his
Makes
offense works, because it just takes that one miscue, or you think you've got the tendency, then he hits you with that something else,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you've got an 80-yard touchdown, which is what
Yeah.
happened with Tyreek in the first game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you, this is me, and I'm a very optimistic Dolphins fan. I'm
All right.
very optimistic. You can ask him. But what's the situation if we go 0-4 in the next 4 games? Like what's the thought? And you chime in on this too.
I'll tell you my thought. If we go 0-4, so we'll be 1-5.
Yeah.
So then we'll end the season 11-5, right? Yeah.
There you go.
That's fine.
There you go. I like that.
I think my math was good there.
Yeah, I mean, 10 wins is kind of the barometer for
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
So if you're 0-4, I think the biggest question is how healthy are you?
Yeah.
And, at that point, you're going to have to obviously make decisions.
Yeah.
I would say that if you're 0-4, I don't know if Tua is going to get out of concussion protocol. To me, I would most likely shut Tua down based off of
Probably.
where the other
Same.
teams are in the division.
Yeah.
So if you win the division, you're getting into the playoffs. But if you're, 1-4 here, 1-5,
Yeah.
and the other teams, if the Jets all of a sudden string together some wins, you're going to look at that. That's part of the equation.
yeah.
But to me, where you're not going to make the playoffs, I don't see the value in bringing Tua back.
I agree.
If he clears protocol. I hope
Yeah.
that he clears protocol.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Obviously, it'll be his decision if he decides to play football. But as an organization, as someone that covers a team, I think as just a fan, someone that lives in South Florida, you want to see Tua come back
Of course.
and
Of
have this
course.
amazing comeback story.
Yeah.
And then I think you kind of look at, we've got to play these games, but now I'm playing my rookies more. I'm giving Channing Tindall, who really hasn't amounted to much, big pick out of Georgia. I want to see him. I want to see some of these younger players play. I don't think Jalen Ramsey, I know I'm paying him, a lot of money, but at the same time, if you have that record, that trade deadline is going to be looming.
Yeah.
And I'd be, that's where you would start,
Yeah,
moving
true.
some pieces. And it just depends on the contracts of these guys.
Very true.
But
Something
yeah,
to consider,
something
yeah.
will happen.
Yeah.
What do you think in terms of, let's say, obviously we want Tua to clear a protocol, but in the scenario that he doesn't, but we go 3-1 in this stretch, is there a scenario you think that we go out and try to land? Because people have been saying,
To go trade for
which
a
I don't
quarterback.
agree with or think would even happen, but like a Bryce Young or Matthew Stafford, right?
Yeah,
Do you
I've
think
seen
there's ever would be a scenario if, let's say, 3-1, would we try to go after somebody, or you think we just run it with Skylar, like screw it, we've gone 3-1?
I mean,
Yeah.
you're 3-1 with Skyler. I don't
Yeah.
see why you would.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Greer will always tell you, I'm trying to make the roster as best as possible.
Yeah.
And everything's always on the table. But yeah, if you're 3-1 with Skylar Thompson, and you're hoping that he's playing well, you're riding with him.
Yeah.
And in that time, you've got Snoop Huntley learning the offense, and you've also
Yeah.
got Tim Boyle back there as another stopgap. But I also think it just depends on like what the offer is. I mean, if I understand Carolina mortgaged the whole future of that team to
crazy.
get in
Yeah, that's
Bryce,
whole different scenario.
but
nightmare
at the end of the day,
organization.
like Bryce is still a 5'11" quarterback. I understand Kyler Murray is, lighting things up right now.
Right.
But you do have Mike McDaniel. I mean, this is what he does. I mean, I remember talking to Tua, and he's very open and honest. At one point in his career, he's like, I love throwing the ball over the middle because I'm not tall enough to see over the tackle. So throwing the out route, it's all timing. I'm throwing blind. I can't see it. And so that's why Tua's having all the completions over the middle. But then all of a sudden, the defenses figured it out. They started taking that away, and he struggled a little bit. Yeah. So, I mean, look, Teron's 6'5", Patrick Paul's 6'6", 6'7", Austin Jackson's big, so you've got to play to your strengths. So is he the right fit? Like, I don't know, but you can also change things around.
Of course, right.
So, but I mean, if hypothetically, if it's a 7th round pick to go get Bryce Young, all right, I'm gonna throw you a 7th round pick. So I think it just depends on how healthy the team is and what the value is. But I really don't think Matthew Stafford's a player that's gonna be traded. I
don't think so either.
I mean, in as close as a relationship as Mike McDaniel has with Sean McVay, I just don't foresee that happening. But then it's, you've got some good quarterbacks in this draft class. I would see.
That's where I thought you were gonna go with that question.
Well, the part 2 was if we bring back the prodigal son in Ryan Tannehill. That was part 2. But the draft is the third part.
His name's been floated around. I can put to rest 100% Tom Brady is not in the cards.
Oh, okay.
Tom Brady is not coming back. He has said he's invested in his career at Fox.
We just got our clickbait. Tom Brady is not coming back.
David Yee confirmed. Not happening. He's got $100 million in Fox, and Kevin Burkhardt would be pissed.
He couldn't leave that at this point.
But it's Tannehill is a name, but. What's Tannehill going to give you 3-4 years down the road?
Do you think they already made a call to Tannehill at this point?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm sure that he would be in the back of their minds. And I know obviously the fan base loves this because they know him and there's familiarity.
It would be so crazy. They wanted his head gone when he was here, and now they're crying for him back.
It would be so crazy. Like, imagine Ryan Tannehill
such a
comes back
Dolphins thing
and leads us to our first playoff win in 23 years. Would be
the
most Dolphins.
Yeah, but like hypothetically. I hope that this doesn't. I hope that Skyler balls.
Yes.
Hypothetically, Skyler gets hurt. All right, so now you're down another quarterback. So now you've got Huntley and Boyle. So then, all right, that changes the scenario. And he's local. He's here. Bring him in for a tryout. I don't want to throw gas on the fire here, but we had Cam Newton loves it down here. He was at practice earlier in the week.
We got another breaking news.
And then Reek tweeted, he's like, we don't need any more kids on this team.
But he's an instigator. He's doing that on purpose.
He's trolling.
But I mean, then he went to Carolina as well. I don't know how in shape Cam is. I mean, obviously he would be a piece that anybody would consider being an NFL MVP.
Yeah, of course.
So
and bring in Colin Kaepernick.
Colin Kaepernick, Alex Magoo.
Colin Kaepernick, I think, would not be allowed on the field because Miami fans hate him for the whole shirt that he wore of Castro, that one press conference.
Oh, the 49ers game years ago? Yeah. He also hasn't just played. He hasn't played in forever.
I know. At this point,
every time they bring him up, it's just like, I mean, this guy has not played in like 8 years. Like, I don't know, but
I don't see that.
I mean, he was great when he was playing for the 49ers. I remember him torching when I was up in Green Bay with the Packers. I mean, he was brutal in that Raheem Mostert game up there. I think Raheem ran for over 200 rushing yards and smoked him. I think it was the NFC semifinals.
He had a run, and then they lost in the Super Bowl, right?
They lost in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, to the Ravens.
It was the brother matchup.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and then John and Jim's. I mean, the fact that the Chargers are 2-0 was insane to me, but.
They haven't really played anyone.
They're a fake 2-0.
Steelers are 2-0.
Yeah.
Right, and then you have the other side. Ravens are 0-2.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest surprise in the NFL right now.
Yeah. They were my survivor pool pick last week. So.
Were they really? Yeah. Well, that was like the Bengals.
Well, everybody got knocked out in the Bengals, so I'm like, all right, I'm in a great spot. Let me go safe here with the Ravens just to make sure I advance. And then basically 75% of the people got knocked out already, and then another 20% got knocked. There's like 5 people left in this thing.
I know some survivor pools are already done.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks, they're already over.
Wow.
Like a guy was in like a 50-team survivor pool league. Like 80% of the league went for Cincy in week 1. And then I think the same thing. Everyone picked Ravens in week 2, and there was one guy that picked, I don't even know what game he picked, but he was the one guy that didn't pick the Ravens, and he won the league.
Some Minshew magic.
Yeah, bro.
I love Devontae Adams. Devontae's like one of my favorite people.
That catch that he had along the sideline was
he's special.
actually insane.
He's insane.
Gold jacket.
Yeah.
Heard it here.
100%.
Give it to him.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. 100%. So I want to get into a little bit of actually like your story, right? So
Sure.
how long have you been covering the Fins now?
So this is my 4th season here.
Okay, and before that,
I was in Green Bay for
Okay.
5 seasons, and then before that, I was with the Broncos up through their Super Bowl run with Peyton Manning.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 2016. So I've been covering the league full time. This is my 12th season, and it's been great to go from kind of Peyton Manning to Aaron Rodgers, and then you come here to the Fins, which I think this is the best team that they've had,
Yeah.
arguably in 20 years.
For sure.
And then
100%.
obviously
in
with,
our lifetime, for
with
sure.
anything
Outside
that's
of the Marino era, but
yeah, it's happening now. I mean, we'll see, but yeah, it's been a ride, man, and we're just getting started.
Yeah.
We're get to cool stuff like this.
Yeah,
so
Hell yeah.
even better.
And so, how did you get into the whole sports world? Did you play football back?
Yeah,
in the
no.
day?
So I grew up in
Okay.
Southern California, and I think the coolest thing about SoCal, kind of like here with all these NFL guys that come out of Heritage, Aquinas, shout out Columbus,
Yeah.
City alums. I
We
love
were-
those Boozer
shout-
twins, man. Those are gonna be special kids.
Oh,
Shout
man.
out Belen.
Shout out the private school crew over here. I grew up in Southern California and just made all my friends, playing sports from, T-ball, you're playing AYSO soccer, you're playing hoops, you're kind of doing everything. And then, that was just part of the culture, how we grew up on really before social media. I mean, we were at camps all day summer playing sports. You'd come home from school, you'd, be shooting hoops, you'd be riding bikes until sundown, you go eat dinner, you go back out. And sports was just always a huge part of my life. Played through high school, ended up playing some D2 ball. I'm 5'10", I'm a short little guy. So really they needed me for my grades. So the D1 mix I had, they're just like, yeah, we're gonna put you on the team. We need your grades. They really wanted my teammates. But I think growing up and knowing a lot of the guys that were able to make it and go pro and you kind of follow along. But I met this man, his name is Kurt Sandoval, and he was like my guiding light. His wife at the time, her name is Jeannie Zelasco. She was a national reporter did Sunday Night Baseball. She did a ton of stuff for Fox,
name sounds
NASCAR.
familiar.
And Kurt met me and he's like, I think you should do TV. So I was gonna be a doctor, got into school, was gonna do all of that. And I met Kurt and he's like, come intern for me at Channel 7 in LA. So I did this internship. It's 2006 at this point, and Kobe's there, Shaq's there. I'm going to like these Laker practices before he's here, and you're around it all, and it's just like you're in your hometown, and it's just I'm like, oh, this is great, and I love this. Like I think this is great. And I was at USC at the time, and this is right after Reggie Bush that just won the Heisman. So we're
What a year that was.
we're
That was
at
such a sick team.
we're at the peak.
Yeah.
And then I basically started working for the athletic department. Pete Carroll's there. We had OJ Mayo at the time, and then DeMar DeRozan came in, and baseball was my thing, so I was really close with the baseball team, even though that we were terrible in what was then the Pac-10 that doesn't even exist anymore. And just all the track and field athletes, and then I know everything came out with a documentary with the coaches getting paid and getting kids into school, but at that time at USC, like that was the height of that athletic department.
Oh, yeah.
And we just got exposed to so much, and then being in LA, all of the media's there all the time. So then from just being in LA and just being at all the practices, and it just kind of evolved into, all right, I can do this as a profession. And then this is when 2009, I think Twitter started. Facebook was like really starting to pick up. I don't think it had gone mobile yet. Remember, Facebook was like back in the day, sit in front of the computer.
The laptop, yeah.
Yeah, so just being in LA, being around it, and my family was like kind of entertainment world, and it was just kind of a natural fit because I played sports all the time, and it was just like, all right, I'll be the liaison between the guys and the fan base. For me, it was always you get the athletes. Some of them like. I wouldn't say that they work very hard at what they do, but they're always recognized. So like they socially, like they don't really have to.
It's true.
They don't have
Yeah.
the skills. Some do, but like most of them, like everything's just kind of
Here you go.
here you go, and like you show up, people know who you are. So they're never the ones to initiate conversation.
Yeah.
So like in college, pretty girls, whatever, it's, oh, I meet so and so, and just kind of was friends, and then all right, cool. This friend goes pro. This friend goes pro, and then. I'm doing all the social media stuff. I'm, helping out, hey, wherever I can add value. And then I get a phone call I was working at the NFL Network after I graduated as a producer, and I'd sent out my resume tape, and then I got to start at this little tiny TV station called KREX TV. It was in Grand Junction, Colorado. So it was like just south of Aspen, and they had the Junior College World Series. They had a Division II college and a bunch of like high school coverage. And basically from there, I had Denver like a stone's throw away. And I was going back and forth to Denver on my own dime, just hustling, going to the Broncos events, Nuggets events, whatever I could do. It was 4 hours each way.
Oh, wow.
So on my day off, I'd go drive, or I'd go get content and just kind of network through Colorado, go back and forth to LA, and then from there, Denver brought me on. So then I was there for Peyton Manning's era, which is crazy. Wes Welker was there with a huge helmet, and now here he is with the Dolphins. Man,
That's right.
Demaryius Thomas was amazing at that time. I still can't believe that he's gone.
I know.
And spent 5 years in Colorado, and then it was just kind of perfect timing. And then I got this amazing opportunity to go to Green Bay, and then Green Bay, I was sports director of this Fox affiliate there, and I got to host this like regional show called Inside the Huddle. My co-hosts were Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams. My childhood friend, Clay Matthews, that I grew up with. Shout out to Agora High School.
Really?
So they were on the show too?
Yeah, so they were my co-hosts. It was me and them. We had a studio audience of like 1,200 people. We sold out this bar every Tuesday night.
Oh, dude, that's sick.
And honestly, I think it's probably the coolest like TV stuff that we got to do. And Aaron Jones, who's living down here now with his brother Alvin. And then COVID happens, and the Packers had gone to the NFC Championship game, I think 2 out of 3 years. And I get a phone call down here. There's a guy, Steve Shapiro, that was a legend in Miami, and he was retiring. And it's a phone call from Channel 7. They're like, our guy's retiring. We found your stuff online, and we'd love to see what your contract situation is, figure out if you can't come down here. And I had met Drew Rosenhaus just from like working, and Drew's the analyst over there. So I reached out to Drew, and he's like, "Oh yeah, come on down." And then so like he's become, like a bigger brother, if you will. Like he's been so phenomenal to me, that whole family. Yeah. And then kind of my ties to the West Coast with everybody at Athletes First. Yeah. So Tua's agent, Austin Lyman, is a child, not childhood. So it's we went to USC together. And then Ryan Williams, the guy that put together his contract. And I mean, the circles are so small.
Yeah,
but
it really
like,
is.
That's crazy.
So it's kind of like an inverted pyramid. It's kind of like, you start, you just do these little small things, and you get to grow up together. And now it's like great to see, like, oh yeah, like Christian Yelich is from my high school. So you remember him playing like t-ball back in the day, and you get to see him
high
rise.
School's like loaded.
Like that's those Southern Cal.
That's Southern California. So it's kind of like
it's like down here too.
Yeah. But here, I'll give you a crazy story.
We're like a little bit behind the curve, I would say. I think now is where we're seeing that start to really happen.
Yeah.
My school specifically is very behind the curve. I don't think we have a single...
Hey, shout out to Belen.
Shout out Belen. I love Belen. Belen's got great alumni everywhere else, but we do not provide football prodigies so far. So.
But I mean, it's like your neighborhood friends, and then it's all normal. It's just like all these conversations. When you get very like TV oriented, and you start asking questions like this, which you hear on the news. It takes it all away, and you lose. I mean, like, but this is what it's about. It's about people that like you grow up in the community. You get to see everybody do well. You want your friends to do well. It's kind of like you kind of rise together. It's always how I've approached it. And then just like show up, be accountable, and I think the biggest thing. Maybe that I've learned, when I'm young coming up, it's just like, all right, I'll do it no matter what. Like, I think it's just being able to say, you know what, I don't understand what you're asking me. Like, can you explain it? Or like, to say no and just be like, so that you can get those answers. But I think that's something like that comes with time and all of that. But yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride. Actually, I do want to share one story though. I think this is, this is probably the weirdest.
How does that even happen?
Oh, shout out. We got a chair going down here. You gotta be comfortable.
I don't even know how that happens. It's like
there we
something's
go.
going on back there. All right, we're good.
All right.
Malfunction of the props back here. All right, go for it.
I think the most unique story that I've ever been a part of, so I'm doing the show with Jordy Nelson, and we have about 1,000 people that come every week to just sit in the audience and be a part of it, and part of it is an autograph signing session.
Pretty
so
cool.
I think most people come for the
At
autograph
this time,
sessions.
is any of that like digitized? Like, can you watch this? Like,
oh yeah, I got YouTube clips,
and
but it's me cutting it. So like that's the other thing with like YouTube with NFL video. NFL, the copyright on everything is so strict. Same with like F1 or any sports. Technically, the league.
I'm losing mine too.
We're comfortable now. We're good. So like the league owns all of the content, so it's hard to post all of this stuff online. But so I'm in Green Bay. We're hosting the show with Jordy Nelson, and we get this email from this guy, and he's like been trying to get a hold of the Packers organization for a long time. But this guy, Green Bay, it's farmers, you have a lot of blue collar workers, and it's people that have been in Wisconsin their like entire life. And a lot of them like have never been on an airplane. Like it's just different up there. But we met this man and lived in a rural community, drove more than 2 hours to come be a part of the show, but ahead of time, he's like, I really need Jordy's autograph. And it comes to find out that Jordy was his favorite player, like, and we're thinking this guy's kind of a weirdo. But what ended up happening was he had a daughter. Daughter was sick, passed away, and he made a promise to his daughter, who he named Jordy, that she would put him to rest with a Jordy autograph. Oh, wow. And so they reached out to the Packers. The Packers wouldn't help. So I get this email. I run it by Jordy. And he's like, you know what? Like, if it means that much to him, like, let's do this. So the guy comes in tears, didn't know how to, it was like so starstruck, like flabbergasted. Like the emotions were so real. I still remember it like today. I kind of like getting goosebumps thinking about it. And he was so grateful, brought a jersey. Jordy signed it, was standing there next to him. And like this guy could barely get out words. Like you could just feel how much this meant to him. And so he was able to get the autograph and then put his daughter to rest. I think that's like the most unique, crazy situation. And in Miami, like Green Bay is different because it's like the lifeblood of the whole city. I would argue
there's
all
certain
of
cities like
Wisconsin.
that.
But in Miami, it's like you have all these great, amazing sports teams here, but because of the nightlife that's here,
I know.
I feel like the transientness of Miami, not a lot of people are from here. So you lose a little bit of that.
Oh, 100%.
So, but I think with the teams like getting really good, that's coming. Like it's coming.
For sure.
But yeah, that story to me is just still to this day.
I will
wild.
say that sports definitely unify people. You know, you see it in like the moments when like 9/11 happened and how all like New York City and Boston and how those stadiums were during like, you know, what's obviously one of like the darkest moments in U.S. history. Yet here we are at a sporting event and everyone's there together. Like everyone's differences are put aside and we're like one together here rooting for our team. You know, and that to me is why I think sports are just like.
It's what makes it powerful.
100%. It's like I never understand people. It's like, oh, it's you know, it's just a game. It's like, well, it's sports in general is much more than that. It's a community, really. It's like once you're a part of that community, it's something like special and different, and people rally around it. So that's where it's awesome, and especially like a city like you mentioned, like Green Bay. Like, it's so different there. I would love Miami to be like that, but it's obviously very different.
I think we see it though because like
the Dolphins are the only one that kind of
but like look at Messi. I mean, this man's got kids running up to him when the car is stopped at a stoplight, but he's comfortable enough to roll down his window to take a selfie. I mean, you see these kids' faces, and they're just like, and they'll remember that for the rest of their life.
For sure. No, it also begins with the players too, and like being welcoming to it. You know, I think that's part of it. Messi to me is a little bit of an anomaly, specifically that we're in Miami and there's just a ton of like South Americans and all that.
Argentinians.
So exactly, and they're just like
God,
Messi.
totally.
They're like this to Messi.
Also,
this guy loves Messi.
He's also not Ronaldo. So Ronaldo, all right. I'm a Ronaldo guy through and through. You know, Messi, Miami, I get it. Yeah, Ronaldo's better. But no, but it's true that like it's funny. Yeah, like you see, you know, people's reactions to seeing these stars and you know, it's great, man. It's why we're obsessed with sports. Like we grew up with this, and it's fun growing up in like it's funny because like I'm a diehard FIU fan. Like I might be the first one you've probably ever met.
Hey man, Panther up, man. Pause up.
Pause up. And so, but I was born into it because my dad. We had him on the pod a couple times a couple weeks ago, and he's one of the guys who started the football program at FIU, and he's got a whole crazy story of how he got that.
Oh yeah.
But I grew up into FIU fandom. And so there's not a lot of us, but the ones that are there are so diehard that like the community that we have is so much fun. And it's obviously Miami, it's harder, but like all it takes is winning. Like
exactly.
I mean, during the T.Y. Hilton days when we had Cristobal, T.Y. and those teams were going to our first bowl games, and we won the Sun Belt at the time, and like the stadium was packed because they wanted to see T.Y.
Totally.
Like, that's what it takes in this city. And for like in Green Bay, like it's really they're there no matter what. The Dolphins have that a bit more than all the other teams, but like even the Heat struggle through it sometimes. Like everyone has the diehards, but it's this city, like you meant, like getting everybody else. It takes winning.
Yeah.
So we've been blessed to see a lot of like outside of the Finns. I love the Finns more than anything. The Finns are my team. I've yet to see them win anything, but I'm still there every Sunday.
Yeah.
At least the Heat have granted me with 3 championships. The Catch has got one, which is awesome. So I think more to come. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's close.
Yeah.
I mean,
Feels close.
Yeah,
I mean,
they-
the Marlins are probably the ones that are the furthest away right now.
But even they've given us 2.
In our lifetime, yeah, they've given us 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready for the Marlins season to be over.
Yeah.
Ready.
Yeah.
I think
Just-
I think
the
Skip-
Ohtani thing.
The Ohtani
the
thing
other
last
day,
night
it
was
was
crazy.
last
I'm like,
night, dude, that was crazy.
Of course it would happen against the
It was
Marlins.
crazy.
6
That was
for
one of the-
6, 10 RBIs.
That was one of
3 jacks,
the best single performance I've ever seen in my entire
51,
life.
51 now.
Yeah,
Like,
insane.
Sorry, being from Los Angeles and
Yeah.
growing up a Dodgers
Oh, yeah.
fan,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
No,
I'm like, it's happening here.
Yeah,
but in my
for
head, I'm
sure.
like, they've got 6 home games.
For sure.
They're pulling him after the 50. Like, there's no reason
True.
to go for 51.
Yeah.
50, I'm like, all right, he's done.
Yeah.
But I mean, then you're having position players go out there, and I'm like,
Dude,
why not? And
yeah,
if you
yeah.
think about it, he was a triple away from the cycle, and he knew it. He got thrown out at third base
Oh,
when he was trying to
right.
stretch it for 3 earlier in the
Yeah.
game. So he could have had a cycle
Yeah,
in that game, and that would have been.
That would have been insane.
Yeah, that game.
He's a freak, dude.
No, he is. He is.
He's
He's
like, you just see him
generational.
and
He's-
he's just a specimen.
It's funny because the last 10, 15 years, like the best player in baseball has been Mike Trout. Like everyone's like, oh, Mike
Right.
Trout. Mike Trout.
Just never could
Obviously
stay healthy.
amazing. He just can't stay healthy, but he's amazing. And then what this guy does is just like, holy shit. Like he is like, in my eyes, that much better than Trout. Obviously, he has the pitching aspect to him too, which is
He's not even
already
pitching this
insane.
year, too.
He's not even pitching, but he and the fact they're on the same team is shocking. But they were, but yeah, he's like something I've never seen like in my life. So
Oh yeah.
Who do you think wins MVP? Is it
Oh, it's him.
Ohtani or Judge?
So you've got National League and
Oh,
so
true.
the
Yeah,
Twitch
yeah,
win.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but yeah,
both.
those 2 are
yeah,
locks.
yeah,
They're
that's
locks,
right.
they're
I
locks.
forgot
Yeah.
that they have the 2. Yeah.
So we got to get Hard Rock Bet as a sponsor on here.
Yeah.
Do your
Lock
future
that.
bets before.
Yes.
100%. That the tandem of them 2 is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Judge is
growing
insane,
up,
too.
I was the Sosa era with Mark
Yeah.
McGuire,
Yeah, true.
and the one year where Barry Bonds, somebody was hitting a home run every single day.
That's
And
how it feels like with these guys right now.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
glued to Sports Center, like you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, to me, the steroid era was the
the
best part of baseball.
Everyone
growing
wants
up.
them back. They're just like everyone's like, let him roid again.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, look, you got to do what you got to do to stay healthy, and
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
all part of it. And
Mhm. It's a long season.
yeah, so
All right. Well, before we wrap it up, I just want to get your record prediction for the Finns this year and where
Oh,
the
man.
season that's out.
it's too early.
I know, it's
So
tough.
right now we're 1-1 through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Don't know the future on Tua.
Yeah.
You're hoping that everybody can stay healthy. I would love to say that I'm an optimist, and I would love to get to 10-7. With the future of Tua being unknown, I think I'm going to go 8-9.
Wow. Okay. That hurts. I hope not.
If Tua
you're
can come,
right.
if Tua can come back
Assuming Tua doesn't come back.
and changes things, then it also assumes that everybody stays healthy. You
Yeah,
hope
of
that
course.
Bradley
That's the big
Chubb
part.
can return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what Odell Beckham Jr. is
Right.
going to be. You're going to get some offensive line help with a couple guys coming off.
True.
River Craycraft potentially coming back, but he's not a game changer. But
No.
you have to have a dynamic quarterback to win. And
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're worth all $200 million, but it's different when you have a Mahomes,
Yeah.
when you have an Allen. You make up for so much.
I know.
And I mean, look at the Jets last year when they lost Aaron Rodgers. Season's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just hope for the best for Tua. You want him to be healthy, and I mean, what a comeback story it would be
It would.
if he
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
back.
Add another
The Finns make the
chapter to-
playoffs as a wild card, and they win a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, can you
Oh,
imagine this city?
Oh, my
I feel
God.
like everyone would feel
explode.
like they'd won the Super
Yeah.
Bowl.
I know.
Well, it's-
dead ass.
it's
That's
funny
exactly
because
what it'll feel like.
It's funny because we were kind of talking about like the fandoms and stuff, and I went to the Panthers parade, and it was slammed. It was
That was
awesome.
a great day.
Awesome
That
day.
was.
It was pouring, and
It was
people were
pouring.
still out there. It was an awesome time.
And seeing them, the players rally.
Yeah, they were going
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Lomberg was
Chuck
right in front of me. They were going crazy. But in my head, I'm like, man, I think the city would just shut down if the Fins won a Super Bowl. Like this, it would
would
be
burn.
the city would
would
just
burn.
go insane.
Forget pots and pans.
Yeah,
It's not-
yeah,
no,
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 no.
no.
We're going to another
this
level.
thing
Like
would
La
be-
Gareta is
on
on fire.
fire.
If the Dolphins
Yeah,
win a Super
because
Bowl.
one of the things with the Fins is super interesting is that obviously, the Miami Heat, they're in downtown. They've got, it's not only it's just an event, but it's very Miami, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Similar with the Marlins, obviously, right in Miami. The Dolphins have just as many Miami fans as they do Broward fans. Like the Broward community, which is big for the Panthers, obviously, it's kind of like the biggest combination of both, which is awesome, which is why I think the city would explode. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just the reach of the NFL overall compared to the
Yes.
other sports.
Football is king.
The NFL is here, and then NBA maybe,
Exactly.
It's true. It's
and then
true.
Messi's an outlier where it's not even Inter Miami; it's just Messi.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's if
And then
you
Ronaldo.
and then Ronaldo, just for you.
Just right up top.
So, but I would love to see the Fins.
We always talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell would that look like? I'm like, honestly, dude, I don't know.
I mean,
but
if the Panthers celebration was any indication
Yeah,
for like
exactly.
those
Dude, that
4
was
days,
Unreal.
I mean, I still think I've got grime on me from the elbow room up in Fort Lauderdale. But man,
That was sick.
what a summer, man! That was
Yeah,
that was a
dude.
special ride.
it felt good.
Insane.
Felt good. But I think that'll do it for today. So we appreciate you coming on.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime.
Yes.
Really enjoyed it, and we'll definitely do this again.
For
Maybe
sure.
We'll do it for the Heat season, and we'll figure
Oh,
something
yeah.
out for sure.
Yeah.
Or maybe when we're in the Super Bowl. My
Yeah,
bad, I
yeah,
forgot
yeah,
about
There we
that.
go. We'll do it in New Orleans,
Yeah,
live from
yeah,
New
yeah,
Orleans.
yeah.
Yes,
live from
I
New
like it.
Orleans.
All right,
Yes.
sweet. We'll appreciate it, man.
Of course,
We'll
guys.
definitely do it
Yeah,
again.
man. Thanks so much, brother.